Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. Almost a month ago, DxO released a new version of PhotoLab, PhotoLab 8. Over that time, there have been a number of videos posted to YouTube about this new version of the application. There's a couple things, though, that I think you should keep in mind. At least some of those videos are paid videos, meaning DxO paid the photographer to create a video on PhotoLab 8. In my opinion, those type of videos should be taken with a grain of salt. The second thing I'd like you to be aware of is that at least some of those videos were created by photographers who are affiliates of DxO. That means that they weren't paid up front to create a video, but they probably will mention in their video that in the description below the video, they'll have a link, and you can click on that link and get more information about PhotoLab 8 and download a fully working free trial. What they may not mention is that if you buy anything from DxO, anything, even something other than PhotoLab 8, they'll make a commission on the sale. I am an affiliate for DxO. So if you use my link in the description below this video and click on it and you buy anything from them, I will make a commission. I think it is important for you to know that ahead of time. Now, with that said, I'm going to do my best to give you an unbiased review and overview of PhotoLab 8, and hopefully the information I give you in this video will help you make an informed decision of whether or not you should purchase PhotoLab 8 or upgrade to it from an earlier version. Now, there are actually two different versions of PhotoLab 8. There's an Elite version that costs $229 in the United States, and there is an Essentials version that costs $139 in the United States. If you own PhotoLab 6 or PhotoLab 7, you can upgrade to those versions for roughly half price. Now, you're probably wondering, well, beside price, what's the difference between Elite and Essential? Well, in the description below this video, I have a link to their website, specifically this web page. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see that there is a handy-dandy chart that will help you compare versions. By default, it's going to show you DxO PhotoLab 7 Elite and compare it to DxO PhotoLab 8 Elite. So if you do own a previous version, you own PhotoLab 7, you're wondering, should I upgrade? You could look at this chart. If you own PhotoLab 6, you could go to this drop-down and go to like PhotoLab 6 and check it. Now, if you just want to know the difference, you don't own PhotoLab at all, and you just want to know the difference between PhotoLab 8 Essential and PhotoLab 8 Elite, change this to Essential, and when you do, you'll see everything that is in PhotoLab 8 Essential and everything that is PhotoLab 8 Elite. And you can see that PhotoLab 8 Essential is missing d'XD2S, which is the newest denoising algorithm they have, which, if you're familiar with Pure Raw 4, it's in Pure Raw 4. It's also missing the U range mask, which we'll talk about in a moment. It's missing compare with reference or image and some other things. You could click on the See All and you could get a total comparison between PhotoLab 8 and any of the previous versions of PhotoLab as well as Optics Pro. So if you want to see any differences, you could do that here. Again, I'll have a link to this webpage in the description below this video. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about some things that I really do like about the application, not necessarily new to PhotoLab 8, but I will be talking about what is new in PhotoLab 8, and I'm going to talk about things I don't like about the application as well. We're going to start out with something I don't like. You'll notice that I'm clicked on a folder called PhotoLab, and there's no images here. PhotoLab does not look into subfolders, so you have to drill down to the base folder to find your images. If I go down to, say, Miscellaneous, and you can see I'm still not seeing any images, I have to be in the base folder. So if I go to Hoyt Lake, then I see an image finally. Also, by default, you'll just see an image. You won't see all the images in the folder, but that's easy enough. You could see that. If you want to see like a film strip along the bottom, just go down here towards the bottom till your cursor turns into like this double arrow. Just drag up, and you'll drag up the film strip. Now, if you prefer to see a grid, just drag it all the way up. And then you could have a grid, and you'll have the images all tiled in your grid here. Personally, I prefer to have like the film strip, so I have it towards the bottom. So that's the way I like to use it. So that works well for me. So I could see all the images that I have in this specific folder. When you're in a folder, in the background, PhotoLab will index that folder. That means it's going to create a database, and it's going to include a preview and some other information about the image that will help it render faster. and help when you're editing it that your edit is fast, more quick. If you want to hurry this indexing along, you could right-click on a folder and just go to Index Folder, and it will show a progress bar at the top. This folder's already indexed, so it doesn't matter. But you'll see a progress bar at the top. Also, if you do have an index folder, your searches will be faster. So you could go up to the search bar, and let's say I want to find all images that were shot with ISO 64. Just go up to the search bar and type in 6.4. And you can see that I have some f-stop 6.4. I actually have none. 64 millimeters, I have one image. And ISO 64, there it is, 433. So I could do really fast searches when the folders are indexed. Another thing I do like about the workspace is it is customizable a lot. Whenever you have a panel that has a rounded edge, like metadata or histogram have these rounded edges at the top, you could take it and you can move it around. So if I want metadata at the top, I could just click and drag it to the top. If I want it floating, I could just pull it off completely and have it floating. If I want it over on the left-hand side, I could just drag it over there and put it on the left-hand side. If I want to put it back, just drag it back and put it back wherever it was. And you could do that with any of the panels that are rounded. And it's not just in the photo library, in the customize or the customized panel as well. You can move those around. Now, another thing that PhotoLab has is something called projects. And if you're familiar with Lightroom Classic has something called collections. And in collections in Lightroom Classic, you could take images from different folders and put them all in a collection. Well, projects, same exact thing. So you could take images from different folders and put them all in a collection. And also you could see there's star ratings. You could give an image. You also could give it pick flags and reject flags. If you're familiar with the keyboard shortcuts that are in Lightroom Classic, they're the same thing. So if you want to give this specific image a pick flag, just hit the P key. Don't do it that way. Hit the P key. There you go. And you can see that I have now a pick flag. If I want to give it a reject flag, hit the X key. You can see now it has a reject flag. If you want to remove the flag totally, hit the U key and it will remove the flag like that. Now, when you're ready to edit image, you would then go over to the Customize panel. Again, you could do a lot of customization of the workspace. Again, if you have anything with a rounded corner, you could pull it off like basic tools. I could have it float. I could put it over here on the left if I want it over here. And then I could drag it back like that. And when you do come from the photo library to the Customize panel, you'll be presented with basic tools. At the top, it has DxO viewpoint as well. But you'll have this panel, and here should be all your kind of essential sliders that you'll need to adjust an image. There are, though, other tools in PhotoLab, and they're grouped together along the top. First is light. You'll see all these different tools for light. You can see that there is like a tone curve there. Next to that is color. Anything having to do with color is here, including like HSL, color wheels, and whatnot. Next to that is detail. This includes the noise reduction, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Lens softness compensation and retouch are in the detail section. Next to that is geometry. Next to that are effects. And then next to that are local adjustments. So whenever you got to do any local adjustments, you would go to that tab. Now, if you want to get back to your basic look of image or look of controls, there isn't a tab for that. And you might be wondering, well, how do I get back to where it said basic? All you need to do, let's say you're in light, just click on light again. And now you're back to the basic and DxO viewpoint panels here. So again, if you're in color and you want to go back to where you were at the very beginning, just click that and you got those basic tools. When I first started using PhotoLab, I did not know that. And I had, it took me 15 minutes to figure that out, that I just had to click on that again. So if I was in, detail and I wanted to get back to my basic sliders, I had to click on detail again. So it took me a while. I felt really dumb. Now, one thing that has been in PhotoLab for a while now, which is unique to PhotoLab, is something called smart lighting. I just want to mention a couple things that are unique to PhotoLab. Smart lighting I do like. If you have an image such as this, it's obviously a long exposure, but I didn't give it enough exposure. It's a little dark. This is where smart lighting comes in. With other apps, you would have to come in and move sliders, right? You'd have to open up shadows, maybe bring down highlights. You have some really bright spots. Well, Smart Lighting kind of does it automatically. So you could click on that and you could see how it just opened up the shadows for me and rein in the highlights a little bit. I could go to the drop down. I could bring it medium, strong, custom. I could just go to the slider, move the slider around as well if I prefer to do it that way. If I want it to be spot weighted, meaning I have a strong subject in there, I could use spot weighted and then pick the subject so that it will be more spot weighted and give me maybe a better smart lighting for that specific subject that is in the image. I like this because it doesn't affect any of the tone sliders at all. So I have full range of tone. So I could come in when I have an image such as this, that again, if I reset it, is underexposed, or sometimes images that are overexposed. You could come in here and turn on smart lighting, and then I could come in and just move the sliders to get a better adjustment. That's what I found, is I could get a better adjustment when I use smart lighting. Another thing that is unique to PhotoLab, and again, like smart lighting, this is in previous versions of PhotoLab, this isn't new to PhotoLab 8, is this Clear View Plus. That is kind of like a clarity or a dehaze control, and it's kind of automatic. For example, I have this, and all these are unedited raw files. This is an unedited raw file, obviously, of Niagara Falls, and there was mist in the air, so it kind of looks hazy. Well, if I go to Clear View Plus and just turn it on, it just cuts right through the haze, like very quickly. You could come in and customize it with contrast, toning, and so on, but usually on an image that is hazy and I just want to cut through the haze, I would just turn this on, and you can see it does a nice job right out of the box like that. So those are a couple things. There are more, but there's a couple things that I like that are unique to PhotoLab. Now let's talk about something that is new to PhotoLab 8, specifically the Luma Tone Curve. If I go over to this image of the sailboat, you'll notice that right next to it in the film strip, I have the same exact image. This is a virtual copy. Both of them are not edited at all. Now, in the past, if you wanted to use the tone curve to increase contrast on, say, this photo of the sailboat, you would, of course, go to the light panel. You would go to the RGB tone curve, and you would put a point in the middle. And then you would go towards the left here where the shadows are and put a point there and pull down. And then you would go towards the right where the highlights are and push up. The problem with the old RGB tone curve in PhotoLab is that it will add saturation as well. You can see that it increased the saturation when I did that. If I go over here to my virtual copy though, and instead of using this RGB tone curve, I use the new Luma tone curve, and I put around the same adjustment in here by putting a point in the middle, going over here and pulling down, and going over here and pushing up. You'll notice that if you look at the thumbnails, the left-hand image where I use the RGB tone curve has a lot more saturation than the right-hand image where I use this new Luma tone curve. So I'll click on this one, and again, I want to go over to the RGB, and you can see that it added quite a bit of saturation. If I go to this one, you could see that this Luma tone curve doesn't have as much saturation. That is welcome, because it really did bug me in the past when I would use the tone curve, because I often like to use tone curve for contrast. I just generally prefer to add contrast with the tone curve. It would increase the saturation, and it just bugged me to no end. Now, another new thing that is in this version of PhotoLab, again, PhotoLab 8, is a targeted adjustment tool. If you're familiar with Lightroom Classic, there is something called a targeted adjustment tool. Here they call it a tone picker. So let's reset this. And if I click on the tone picker, you'll notice that I get this eyedropper. And you'll notice as I move the eyedropper around the image, you'll notice that there is a point on the tone curve that is moving around. So if I go to something very dark, you'll notice the point is towards the darker end of the curve. And if I go something more mid-tone, it's more in the middle. And if I go something that's more highlight, it's more towards the right-hand side of the curve. So let's say I want to make the highlights brighter. The way I would use this is I'd activate it by clicking on it, go to the area I want to make, in this case, brighter, click with left mouse button and just push up. And you can see I'm pushing the curve up in that area. I got a point there now. If I want to make the shadows darker, I could click on there. I could see where the point is on the curve, maybe right there. And then I could click and pull down. So it's a targeted adjustment tool that is new in PhotoLab 8. Now, I want to jump over to color and just show you something very quick. What is new, they also have calibrated color profiles. I'm not going to show you this. This is for those of you that have to have exact colors. So if you're a product photographer doing advertising, and let's say, you're doing a photo shoot for Coca-Cola. Well, Coca-Cola has a very specific color, red, Coca-Cola red, and you have to make sure that that red is exact. And you would use a calibrate, let's say, color checker, and you would take a photo with the color checker, and then you would create a profile with that, and you could do that now in PhotoLab 8. So you could get exact colors. So your Coca-Cola red is the exact red it needs to be. Your IBM blue is the exact blue it needs to be, and so on. That is a welcome addition for many people because many people need that functionality. And in the past, PhotoLab did not have it. Now it does. Okay, let's get over to noise reduction. Let's go over here. Let's talk about noise reduction for a minute. If we go over to the Detail tab, it's also in the basic tools down here at the bottom. But if we go over the Detail tab, the newest noise reduction it has is this d'XD2S. If you are familiar with Pure Raw 4, you know that this was released in Pure Raw 4 as well. Well, it's now here. So all you need to do to use it is to just click on it and turn it on. Now, one thing that always bugs me about PhotoLab is you don't see it. So if I zoom in, oops, I still have my goofy little targeted adjustment tool active. But if I click on the image, double click on the image, I should say, to zoom in, you can see that there's still noise there. It doesn't give you a preview. To see the preview, what you need to use is the new loop tool. The new loop tool is up here. It's the S key is the keyboard shortcut. And when you click on it, with the loop tool active, let's say I put it right there, and you got to give it a second to kick in. Now you see the noise reduction. If you want to see a before after, you could just turn it off. There's before. And then click it back on, and it's active again. So this is new in PhotoLab 8, this new d'XD2S specifically. Another thing is it doesn't work on all files. It only works on RAW files, and it doesn't even work on all RAW files. It doesn't work on most Fuji files right now. Hopefully someday it will, but it doesn't. And it doesn't work on some other RAW files as well. So if it doesn't work on your RAW file, you're going to have to use one of the earlier versions, D Prime or Prime or High Quality or whatever might work for the file you're working on. Again, though, always bugs me that it doesn't give you the preview unless you're using the loop. And as far as the loop is concerned, it is new. In the past, they used to have a little thing over here where you could see that, the noise reduction that it gave you. But the loop is nice. You could zoom in or zoom out here, so we could zoom out more or zoom in more. You also could reduce the size of the loop if you want a smaller loop. Click on it to get a bigger loop. So that is nice. And again, the S key is the keyboard shortcut, so you hit the S key to toggle it on and off. So that's new. Now, what else should we talk about? Oh, lens softness compensation. Let's go to this image for that. They improved that. This has been in previous versions of PhotoLab, but they've improved it for this version. So to see this, hopefully you could see it because it's going to be more subtle. I am again going to get the loop. I'm going to hit the S key, and we're going to come over here, and I think 200% is good. You can see all these trees in the background here. That they're pretty blurry, right? So if I go to this lens softness compensation and turn it on, you can see how it made them a touch sharper. So there's before, and there's after. Hopefully you can see that. Now it does have some auto adjustment. You'll notice that a number of the sliders in PhotoLab have these little magic wands. So if you want to get an auto adjustment, you could click on the little magic wand tool, and it will give you an auto adjustment. And typically those work pretty well, but let's just crank it so you can maybe better see it. Turn bokeh down. So there's before and there's after. Now, what is supposedly improved here, and I haven't tested this to see if it actually does what they claim it will do. With other applications, when you sharpen, it's kind of sharpens everything equally. What this does is lenses in general are going to be sharper in the middle, and they're going to be less sharp as you move out towards the edge. Now, every lens is different. And of course, all these applications have lens corrections, lens profiles, which will correct the geometric distortion caused by the lens. What this new lens softness compensation does, it takes into account the actual lens you're using, and it will make the middle less sharp compared to the outside, and it will be specific to the lens again. So if you have a specific lens that is very soft around the edges, this lens softness compensation will increase the sharpness more so around the edges than, say, a lens that is sharper by default on the outside. So that is supposedly what is new. And again, I have not tested this like specifically to see if it actually does what they claim it does. It does sharpen. It's usually subtle, and it usually sharpens without any haloing, so that's good. But again, it's something that I'm not sure everyone needs, but it's something you could check out. Again, they do have a fully working free trial. Check it out and see if it's something that you might use. Now, there is a new mask type, and I want to talk about the masking a little bit. So let's go over to masking. You can see it's this tab over here. There are 7 different masks, and none of them are AI masks. So if you're familiar with Lightroom, there's AI masking in Lightroom where you could just mask the sky or mask the subject, or you could just mask an object. You can mask different things. You could intersect mask. You could add to masks, subtract to masks. None of that AI capability is in PhotoLab at all. I did see a video where someone was saying they liked PhotoLab better because it doesn't have the AI masking, because it forces you to really spend more time with your masking and get it more precise. I don't agree with that. AI masks are a time saver, but with the tools like intersecting masks, adding to a mask, subtracting from a mask, you could be very nuanced with an AI mask as well. So I don't agree with that assessment. But if you do like the older style masks, then I guess PhotoLab 8 is for you. It is something that I wish they would add, though, is those AI masking. Now, I mentioned there are 7 types of masks. There's a control point mask that's just right here. There are control lines. Now, these have been in previous versions as well. Control line mask. There's a graduated mask. There is a luminosity mask, but you can see if you hover over it, it says it's available in DxO Film Pack 7 or higher. So it's not even by default in the Elite version. You need DxO Film Pack 7 or higher. Next to that is an auto mask. And it says, next to the mask, that is the new hue mask. That is new in PhotoLab 8. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Next to that is an auto mask, and it's not an AI auto mask, all right? It's just not. Someday maybe I'll do a video on masking in PhotoLab. If you do want me to do that video, mention it in the comments below. Next to that, you have a brush, and then you could modify your masks with an eraser, and I'll show you that in a moment. So let's go back to one of our handy dandy images of, let's say, the sailboat. And I go to this new Luma Mask. And when you turn that on, what you'll have is you'll have an eyedropper. And you could click on a luminance area. For example, I have this blue sky up here. And if I click on this, you'll notice I get a mask over the blue part of the sky. And you can see it overlapped on the water a little bit on the beach over in here. That's where the eraser comes in. So you can get the eraser, and then you could, let's say, affect the size of the eraser or the brush itself, and then come in and remove it from where you don't want it. Like I didn't want it on the water at all. So that's where that brush comes in. But when you go back to that Luma mask, you could then tweak the mask with these controls here. You also could go to these little arrow up and down, and you could affect these little sliders more precisely. With these, you can see as I move them how these little triangles move, and so on. So you could affect your mask that way. So here, let's just say I wanted to increase intensity, and increase contrast. It's a micro contrast, like something like that. So that is new. The new Hue mask. Now, I think I covered pretty much everything that is new in PhotoLab 8. Again, this is the elite version I'm using. And again, in the description below this video, I have a link to their website. It is my affiliate link. They do have a fully working free trial. You could try it out for yourself. And I'll have a link to that web page, this web page right here, so that you could check out and compare versions. So if you do have a previous version of PhotoLab, you can compare it to the elite version and whether or not, maybe hopefully help you make a decision whether or not you want to upgrade or need to upgrade to the newest version. So that is it for this video. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.